Breaking news. America has just been rocked by a revelation so explosive it could shake the very foundations of the presidency. Donald Trump's former mistress has stepped forward, claiming she witnessed suitcases of cash, secret offshore deals, and conversations where the president mocked his own allies, calling Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett a cheap clown and a nobody. These are not whispers. She says she has recordings, documents, and receipts. And for the first time, the private life of Donald Trump collides with the public trust of the American people. According to her testimony, the relationship wasn't just about secrecy, it was about strategy. She alleges that Trump used her apartment as a safe house for meetings with foreign businessmen, where deals were struck far away from prying eyes. She claims she saw stacks of $100 bills being counted out on a marble table, while Trump boasted about how easy it was to move money offshore when you've got the right lawyers. The mistress describes nights when Trump would rant about politicians he feared, mocking Jasmine Crockett in particular, calling her dangerous if she ever gets real power. For seniors watching at home, the betrayal feels personal. This isn't just about an affair. It's about a president using lies, intimacy, and manipulation to cover corruption. Families who once trusted Trump's America First message now hear allegations that behind closed doors, it was always Trump first. Jasmine Crockett wasted no time firing back. Standing before flashing cameras, she declared, "Donald Trump betrayed his wife. He betrayed his voters, and he betrayed this country. This isn't about morality in his bedroom. This is about money in suitcases, lies in documents, and the collapse of trust in our democracy." The room erupted. Across the nation, Americans leaned closer to their televisions. What began as a rumor of an affair had transformed into a bombshell scandal that mixed sex, money, and betrayal at the highest level. And the woman leading the charge against him, Jasmine Crockett, made it clear this story was just beginning. The mistress's testimony is more than gossip. It reads like the script of a political thriller. She claims that during their affair, Trump regularly visited her upscale Manhattan apartment, not simply for romance, but to conduct private meetings shielded from the official calendar. Businessmen from overseas would arrive discreetly, often escorted by aides carrying heavy leather suitcases. She says she saw them stacked in her living room, unzipped to reveal bundles of crisp $100 bills. "It wasn't hidden," she told investigators. "It was right in front of me. He called it the bonus for doing business with Trump." Her most shocking allegation involves a dinner in late 2023. According to her account, Trump sat at her dining table with two foreign investors and bragged openly about making the system work for him. He allegedly laughed as he explained how offshore shell companies were set up under the names of associates, funneling millions of dollars out of reach of regulators. She says she recorded parts of the conversation on her phone, fearing that one day she might need proof. The mistress also recalls moments when Trump's paranoia spilled over into rage. He allegedly cursed his political rivals, singling out Jasmine Crockett by name. "That clown is dangerous if she ever gets a real platform," he sneered, according to her. In another outburst, she claims he dismissed his own supporters as useful pawns, who would never question him as long as he promised them what they wanted to hear. News outlets seized on these quotes, flashing them across screens in bold text. For many Americans, especially older voters who once trusted Trump's every word, the allegations were devastating. The image of a strong, unapologetic leader was now being replaced with the picture of a man bragging about secret deals while mocking the very people who stood by him. Jasmine Crockett responded with surgical precision. At a press conference, she held up a photo of a suitcase stuffed with cash allegedly connected to the affair and declared, "This is not leadership. This is betrayal." He turned bedrooms into boardrooms and used intimacy as camouflage for corruption. The American people deserve the truth, and I intend to make sure they hear it. The mistress's revelations were no longer tabloid fodder. They were evidence of a potential political earthquake. And for Donald Trump, the line between personal scandal and national crisis had just collapsed. The revelations detonated across the nation like dynamite. For millions of Americans, the image of Donald Trump, once a larger-than-life president and symbol of defiance, was suddenly stained by the accusations of a woman who claimed to have been his secret mistress. Her story, filled with cash-filled suitcases, offshore deals, and mocking insults, spread like wildfire across every major network. On the streets of New York, protesters gathered outside Trump Tower. Some carried signs reading "Suitcases of Lies" and "Trump First, Not America First." Veterans groups released statements demanding accountability, furious that Trump allegedly laughed at the very people who fought for the country while he lined his own pockets. Seniors who had supported him in past elections called into talk shows, their voices trembling with anger. "We believed in him," one caller said, "but if this is true, he betrayed us all." Trump, never one to remain silent, launched into an angry counterattack. At a hastily arranged rally in Florida, he thundered into the microphone, "It's all fake! Fake woman, fake stories, fake recordings. This is the biggest witch hunt in American history, and it's being led by a nobody, Jasmine Crockett, a clown who's trying to get famous off my name." He pointed to the cameras, his face red with rage, shouting that the mistress was paid off by his enemies. But his performance only fueled the fire. Clips of Trump screaming "fake woman" were replayed endlessly on TV, often paired with the mistress's calm, detailed testimony. To viewers, the contrast was damning. One side shouting denials, the other providing dates, names, and receipts. Jasmine Crockett seized on his meltdown. In a calm press briefing, she said, "When a man screams louder than the evidence, it means he's scared. He called me a clown. He called her a fake. But the documents are real. The recordings are real. And the truth is staring America in the face." Social media lit up. Hashtags like the Suitcase Gate and Trump Mistress trended within hours. Memes showed Trump standing next to cartoonish bags of money, labeled "for offshore use only." Late-night comedians mocked his furious denials, joking that the louder he yells, the more it sounds like he's guilty. Across the country, the divide deepened. His loyal base clung to him, but cracks began to appear. Moderates who once defended him struggled to reconcile his fiery denials with the detailed accusations. And Jasmine Crockett stood at the center of the storm, calm, deliberate, and prepared to push even harder. The scandal had moved beyond whispers. It was now a national crisis. And for Donald Trump, the walls were beginning to close in. The mistress had promised proof, and now she delivered. Late one evening, major networks aired a leaked audio recording allegedly captured in her Manhattan apartment. The tape begins with laughter, glasses clinking, and Donald Trump's unmistakable voice bragging, "Nobody moves money like I do. Suitcases, shell companies, it's all invisible. They can't touch me." The room fell silent as anchors replayed the clip over and over. If authentic, it was the first direct evidence tying Trump to the alleged secret deals. But the recording didn't stop there. In a quieter moment, Trump's voice grows sharp, mocking political rivals. "Jasmine Crockett, please. She's a clown. She couldn't touch me if she tried." The words, dripping with arrogance, set social media ablaze. Within minutes, hashtags Clown or Crockett and Trump tape trended nationwide. For Trump's supporters, it was a gut punch. For his critics, it was the smoking gun they had been waiting for. The fallout was immediate. Several of Trump's longtime allies in Congress issued carefully worded statements urging him to clarify the recordings. Behind the scenes, insiders leaked that donors were panicking, threatening to withhold millions from future campaigns if the scandal spiraled further. The Mistress claimed she had more tapes, conversations about offshore transfers, names of foreign investors, even code words Trump allegedly used to disguise payoffs. America braced for what she might reveal next. Trump, furious, dismissed the recordings as deep fakes and raged on Truth Social, writing, "Total lies from a bitter nobody, never happened, witch hunt 2.0. But experts interviewed by CNN and Fox News confirmed that the audio carried no signs of manipulation. One forensic analyst said bluntly, 'This is his voice. This is real.' Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett took center stage. She held a press conference playing the clip where Trump called her a clown, then stared directly into the cameras. "He called me a clown while bragging about hiding money from the American people. Let me be very clear. The only clown here is a man who thought he could mock democracy and never be held accountable." Her words were met with thunderous applause from the crowd gathered outside. The scandal was no longer a story of whispered affairs. It was now evidence, tapes, money trails, and betrayal. Trump's defenses were collapsing, his allies wavering, and Jasmine Crockett's voice growing louder with each passing day. For the first time, America began to ask, could this be the scandal that finally breaks Donald Trump? If the audio tape had cracked the dam, the next revelation blew it wide open. The Mistress produced a folder of documents and photographs that she claimed had been hidden for months. Inside were bank transfer slips annotated with handwritten notes and time-stamped photos showing Trump's aides hauling heavy suitcases into her apartment late at night. One photo in particular sent shockwaves through the nation. 2 leather cases, unzipped on her coffee table, spilling stacks of $100 bills with Trump himself visible in the background, smirking over a glass of wine. Investigators quickly confirmed the bank slips were authentic, tracing a series of wire transfers routed through offshore accounts in Cyprus and the Cayman Islands. The recipient companies were shell corporations, all tied back to associates of Trump. The amounts were staggering. Single transfers of $3 million, $5 million, sometimes more, moved with a signature and a coded memo. One document even bore Trump's initials scribbled in the corner, next to the phrase, "handled." The Mistress told reporters she kept everything because she knew he'd turn on me one day. Her foresight now painted her not as a gossip, but as a whistleblower. "He thought I was just a secret," she said, "but I was also a witness." The political world erupted. News anchors called the photos the most damning images since Watergate. Editorials labeled the evidence unspinnable. Trump's allies scrambled, some claiming the photos were staged, others falling silent. Behind the scenes, leaks revealed that key Republican donors were freezing contributions until the scandal could be contained. Trump, cornered, lashed out in fury. At a rally, he screamed into the microphone, "Fake pictures, Photoshop, total scam." But side-by-side analyses aired on national TV dismantled his defense. Metadata confirmed the photos were real, the transfers verified by banks, the handwriting unmistakably his. Jasmine Crockett seized the moment. Standing before a crowd, She held up enlarged copies of the evidence. He said it was fake, but the banks say it's real. He said I was a clown, but the only circus act here is a man who sold out his country for suitcases of cash. The fallout from the photographs and documents was instant and volcanic. Across the United States, protests erupted in cities from New York to Dallas, from Chicago to Miami. Crowds flooded the streets carrying enlarged images of the infamous suitcases, waving American flags with slogans scrawled across them. Not our president, suitcase of shame, and Trump sold us out. Veterans stood shoulder to shoulder with retirees, chanting, "Traitor, traitor," into the night air. Cable news covered the unrest non-stop, with split screens showing furious crowds and Trump's increasingly erratic outbursts. At one rally, he screamed into the microphone, calling the Mistress a criminal liar and branding Jasmine Crockett, a nobody clown trying to cash in on Trump's fame. But the fury in his words no longer sounded powerful. It sounded desperate. Even loyal supporters whispered doubts. One Republican strategist admitted privately to reporters, "He looks cornered." The evidence is too strong. He's unraveling in real time. The political betrayals began piling up. Key Republican figures who once defended him went silent, then quietly released statements distancing themselves from the scandal. A longtime donor announced he was pulling $10 million in funding, calling the revelations indefensible. Governors who had built their reputations on Trump's support now condemned him on live television, warning that the scandal could infect the entire party. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett became the face of accountability. She spoke at a rally in Washington, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Donald Trump mocked our people, lied to our country, and used intimacy as camouflage for corruption. He called me a clown. Well, if demanding justice makes me a clown, then let the whole nation join the circus, because the people will not be silenced." The crowd erupted, chanting her name, while news outlets hailed her as the loudest voice in a storm threatening to reshape American politics. Social media turned brutal. Memes spread of Trump sitting on a mountain of cash, labeled for offshore use only. Hashtags like suitcase scandal, Trump sold out, and clown or Crockett dominated the feeds. For seniors who once admired Trump as a fighter, the betrayal now felt personal, like he had laughed at their loyalty while pocketing millions behind closed doors. Trump's inner circle shrank. Advisors resigned, campaign staffers leaked stories of chaos inside his compound, and even family members avoided cameras. For the first time in years, the man who once seemed untouchable stood alone, cornered by the weight of evidence and the roar of a nation demanding justice. The cameras were already rolling when Jasmine Crockett stepped onto the stage in Washington, the weight of the scandal pressing down on a nation exhausted by weeks of chaos. The suitcases of cash, the offshore transfers, the mistress's testimony, the recordings, every piece of evidence had been laid bare. America waited for closure, for a voice that could cut through the noise. Jasmine stood tall, her gaze steady, her words sharp. For years, Donald Trump called himself a fighter for the people. But the evidence tells a different story. He was never fighting for you. He was fighting for himself. He betrayed his wife. He betrayed his voters. And most of all, he betrayed America. The crowd hushed, hanging on each word. She lifted one of the infamous photographs, Trump leaning back with a glass of wine, suitcases of money on the table beside him. This is not leadership. This is corruption, arrogance, and betrayal. He mocked the very people who believed in him. He called you pawns. He called me a clown. But tonight, we call him what he truly is, a fraud. Her voice grew stronger, echoing like a hammer striking steel. This is not about scandal. This is about trust. If a man at the highest level can laugh while selling out his country, then every American must rise to say enough. The law is not a toy. Democracy is not for sale. And our loyalty cannot be bought with empty slogans. The crowd erupted into chants of justice, justice, as Jasmine raised her hand for silence. Her closing words cut through the night. This fight is not mine alone. It belongs to every American who still believes in truth, in honor, and in democracy. Donald Trump thought he was untouchable, but no one, not even a former president, is above the law. Stand with me, stand with justice, and stand with America, because together we will not let corruption win. The speech ignited a wave across the country. For millions, it was the final verdict. The mistress's whispers had become a roar, the documents undeniable, the truth unshakable. Donald Trump, once larger than life, stood revealed as a man undone by greed and arrogance. And Jasmine Crockett, once dismissed as a clown, now emerged as the voice of a nation demanding justice.